it was the third Sunday of October, that I wrestled in my sermon with zero-sum thinking. And it's linked to racism and white supremacy. The polarizing thinking that there are only winners and losers. Critical resources are limited, and there isn't enough for everyone, especially power. If you are elevated, I'm demoted. It's a competition, and only one person or group can be on top. There is another way to approach social existence today I'll describe as some of us. It's the opposite of zero-sum thinking. It dismantles and rejects racism and white supremacy. It seeks ways for us to find common values, to share, to innovate, to expand resources, and create opportunities. Rather than polarizing people, this approach connects people in a wider network of mutuality. Some of us is at the heart of Dr. King's thinking and preaching. I reread a beautiful sermon he preached on the scripture, "Who is my neighbor?" Dr. King celebrated the Good Samaritan who embodied in action the qualities that were necessary to defeat racism, the qualities of universal altruism that transcended tribe, race, and class, dangerous altruism that put the well-being of another before our own, and excessive altruism that extended beyond what might be expected. These forms of altruism are the high ideals put into practice that make the Samaritan so memorable. Dr. King preached, "Court orders and federal enforcement agencies are of inestimable value in achieving desegregation. But desegregation is only a partial, though necessary, step toward the final goal, which we seek to realize genuine intergroup and interpersonal living. Desegregation will break down the legal barriers and bring men together physically. But something must touch the hearts and souls of men so that they will come together spiritually because it is natural and right." Much as Heather McGee, the one who wrote the book Some of Us that I've been working with, enjoys making her case to dismantle racism and white supremacy on data and statistics, she is also looking for just the quality that Dr. King highlights here. What is it that touches people's hearts and souls, that moves them from zero-sum to some of us thinking? She found an answer listening to Bridget's experience fighting for $15 an hour. Bridget was very skeptical. The word that she used was insane, that Wendy's would consider anything like $15 an hour a few years ago. She had been an honors student, but had had to drop out of school to support her family when her mother got sick. With 3 children and working in fast food for a decade, she saw herself at a dead end. But she decided to go to the Stand Up for Kansas City meeting anyway to organize for $15 an hour for fast food workers. And these are the words of Dr. McGee. When a Latina woman rose and described her life, 3 children in a 2-bedroom apartment with plumbing issues, the feeling of being trapped in a life where she didn't have any opportunity to do anything better, Bridget was moved. She said, I was really able to see myself in her. And at that point, I decided that the only way that we was going to fix it was if all of us came together. Whether we were white, brown, black, it didn't matter. For Bridget, to see herself in a Latina or a Latino worker was a breakthrough. She admitted, when I first joined the movement, I had been fed this whole line of these immigrant workers were coming over here and stealing our jobs, not paying taxes, committing crimes, and causing problems. It was other white people in my family who believed these kinds of racist things. You know, us against them. But she said that her bosses at her Wendy's target Latinx workers, falsely promising them a raise if they didn't join the strikes. She says, they knew that if our Latino workers joined with our black and white workers, that we'd have our strength in numbers and that we was going to win. Since joining Stand Up Kansas City, Bridget's worldview has changed. She continues, in order for all of us to come up, it's not a matter of me coming up and them staying down. It's a matter of, in order for me to come up, they have to come up too. Because we have to come up together. Because honestly, as long as we're divided, we're conquered. The only way that we're going to succeed is together. Another woman's heart who was changed was Cecile. Her ancestors were French-speaking Canadians who came to Lewiston, Maine, to work in the cotton mills and shoe factories 100 years ago. She shunned speaking the French she heard at the dinner table as she grew up in the 1960s. She wanted to talk like real Americans, like Walter Cronkite, and lost any hint of an accent rather than be teased at school. Lonely in her retirement, she began to feel a longing for the language heritage that she had lost. There was an Anglo-French club of old folks in town, but they were an American social club, uninterested in speaking their ancestral language. She found native French speakers at a weekly meeting of a group of residents of a low-income housing project. They were immigrants from Africa that gathered to speak and enjoy their native language. Cecile was the only non-African in the group. This was a little uncomfortable at first for her until they welcomed her with open arms and enthusiastically helped her speak French with them. Lewiston is a town that saw decline during the deindustrialization in northern states. Their problems and racist, reactionary politics would be familiar to some of us who are from upstate New York. Yet many northern towns are starting to experience some renewal due to immigrants. Immigrants who are bringing new life to these towns, starting new businesses. Without their inclusion and support in these towns, wrote Art Cullen, the local newspaper editor at Storm Lake, Idaho, there would be nobody left to turn out the lights by 2050 in towns like his. Asians and Africans and Latinos are our lifeline, he declared flatly in 2018. McGee has 5 discoveries from her research I'd like to summarize for you that support her thesis that we need some of us solutions so we can all prosper together. 1, we have reached the productive and moral limit of the zero-sum economic model. 2, the best strategy to move forward is to refill the pool of public goods. Generous public benefits are the springboard to build a thriving middle class for all. 3, we need solutions that have universal ends, but means tailored to address damage done by historic oppression. This is a powerful way to frame reparations. 4, zero-sum thinking needs to be systematically uprooted and replaced by some of us values. And 5, we must get on the same page before we turn it. That means finding ways to grab the narrative from the forces selling denial, ignorance, and projection. What the zero-sum thinkers continually reject, to their detriment, is the foundation of economics. Trade builds wealth rather than destroying it. When you and I exchange goods, we both get something we want. I exchange something you want for something that I want. We both win in fair trade. The goal of a healthy economy is to ensure that the trading process is fair. Thieves and villains are the ones who don't like fair trade. If you want to get rich, you'd prefer stealing labor and resources, selling them above their value, and pocketing the difference, another name for predatory capitalism. But that isn't a good, sustainable way to build wealth with the benefits widely distributed. Throughout history, we've had examples of productive cooperatives that build wealth where everyone benefits. In these systems, the pie expands. There may not be enough for every desire to be satisfied, but there is plenty for every basic human need to be satisfied. Let me say that again. There may not be enough for every desire to be satisfied, but there is plenty for every basic human need to be satisfied. Human well-being is supported by basic needs being met, not being enslaved for wages so a few can have their every desire satisfied. There is no reason we can't feed and house our citizens here, attend to their health, care and education, care for their children, and finding meaningful employment for all who need a good job. Those are the universal goods our society should provide for all. Yet the way we achieve that goal will not be the same. Some of us have enough already and don't need an extra helping. Some of us have been suffering for 400 years and need an extra boost. Not only governmental systems, rather only our governmental systems have the leverage to offer the kind of leg up needed to counter generations of oppression before the 1960s. McGee references the work of law professor and critical race scholar John A. Powell, director of the Haas Othering and Belonging Institute at the University of California, Berkeley. Powell advocates for targeted universalism. With targeted universalism, he says, you set a universal policy goal and then develop strategies to achieve that goal that take into account the varied situations of the groups involved. A good example that McGee references is home ownership as a universal good. This has been the backbone of the American economy as a way for households to build wealth. Yet many in our society have already achieved this goal and developed significant wealth that way. The ones who haven't are disproportionately non-white former slaves. They are also the ones who were prohibited from buying affordable homes in red-lined areas where banks wouldn't lend. One way to repair that governmental supported harm would be to give special protected low-interest loans to ancestors of slaves or those who were refused loans. In the past, this is actually being done right now in Evanston, Illinois. Targeted solutions to help serve a universal good. Another universal good is public education. Some school districts have strong tax bases and don't need much state funding as school districts in more economically depressed areas. We fight this battle every year with Albany. All our children need a good education, and teachers need good salaries, whether they are in wealthy or poorer districts. They all need the technical tools and facilities to prepare students to succeed. The other universal essential good is addressing climate change with the Green New Deal. Only government can direct the needed investment before it becomes cost-effective to drive this change to limit the damage we are already doing to our climate that the children who have not yet been born will have to endure. We can't make significant progress on these hard problems of housing, education, and climate change through zero-sum thinking. We need to move towards some of us thinking. And what McGee has found in her work is people are ready for this. She says, when people have a chance to create a bond that's not based on skin color or culture, what they actually connect on are things they value in common. This isn't easy, McGee says, but surprisingly, the discomfort is a source of power. Dr. Catherine W. Phillips argues this discomfort, what she calls mental friction, creates diversity's powerful, productive energy. Members of a homogeneous group, she writes, rest somewhat assured that they will agree with one another, that they will understand one another's perspectives and beliefs, and that they will be able to easily come to a consensus. But when members of a group notice that they are socially different from one another, they change their expectations. They anticipate differences of opinion and perspective. They assume they will need to work harder to come to a consensus. This logic helps to explain both the upside and the downside of social diversity. People work harder in diverse environments, both cognitively and socially. They might not like working harder, but the hard work can lead to better outcomes. And this is also the potentially transformative power of encouraging the diversity in Unitarian Universalism. McGee points out that the diversity that is causing an often unconscious racial panic in so many white Americans is actually our biggest strategic asset is actually our biggest strategic asset. The research has borne out in education, jurisprudence, business, and the economy. Put simply, we need each other. Our differences have the potential to make us stronger, smarter, more creative, and fairer. Once we abandon the false idea of zero-sum competition, the benefits of diversity become evident from the classroom to the courtroom to the boardroom. This is research-based. May we take this message to heart. Even if zero-sum thinking currently stimulates reactivity in you, I encourage you to fortify your mind with the writers and authors who advocate for some of us thinking. But that will not convince us fully. Let us test the sum of us approach in action, as Bridget did, as Cecile did, and put ourselves in the places where hearts and minds can be touched. It is a great way to honor Dr. King's legacy, calling us to love the other and make common cause around shared values with our neighbors, and not miss the opportunity to cross and erase the line between them and us. So be it.